Well, it's been a while since I showed people what was going on around here. I'm famous, I guess, for having projects that I do complete, but I fail to record. But this winter, once again, I'm trying to make as much of my own food here in my own home as possible, so I don't have to go to the grocery store for veggies. I always like knowing where my food comes from. So I'll just show you what's inside my house today. I've got a sprouter going, and I'm just using, for the most part, I'm using lentils that I get from the grocery store. So, I mean, these are really, really super cheap. I put them in a jar to keep them fresh, and because lentils are kind of like prone to bugginess, especially if you get the organic ones. So if you keep them sealed up, then that prevents that. But they're just cheap lentils. You can get them in different colors, and they sprout. I've got two on the top that are just, getting soaked, so they haven't sprouted yet. And here we have some on the bottom that are sprouting, and they're really good, actually. They go on top of a salad, or you can eat them without, but I like them on salads. So this year I also bought one of these cheap greenhouses from Amazon. It's just some shelves, and it's got a plastic casing on it with a zipper. I could use it outside when it's springtime again. And what I've got going on in here is, first of all, I do these pie plates of sunflower seed sprouts. What you do is you first sprout them in the dark, so put a little bit of dirt in a pie plate, put a quarter cup or so of sunflower seeds on top, soak them, put another pie plate on top of them, strain them between the two, and then like this one here is going on, you cover them up with something so that it mimics the darkness of the seeds being buried. And I learned this from another lady who did a video about this on the internet, but here they are, like between two pie plates. Not yet sprouted, well, they're just beginning to. Here's some Swiss chard that was growing in my garden that I just dug up and put in a pot. Hopefully it'll start growing. And over here I've planted 1 pot's worth of arugula, and I'm just going to keep planting the other pots in about 1-week intervals. But I don't know if you can see it, but the arugula is just starting to sprout in there. And I like to eat this stuff mainly fresh at this time of year, because if you cook it down, you'd literally have like just enough for like 1/2 a cup. It just makes more sense to eat it raw in salads and stuff, typically. I've got a couple of other pots here that aren't planted yet, and I need to get more of these pots. I got these from Home Depot. They're inexpensive. They're like maybe $3 a piece, and they fit this thing really well. So anyway, I've got that going on. I grow ginger in a pot, just because I like ginger for cooking and putting in sodas and stuff. Like I've got a soda stream and I make sparkling water, and I'll throw ginger in there. And then I'm one of those crazy Aerogarden people. I've got an Aerogarden thing here that's been broken for a while, and that's why the lights are flashing. And in fact, like one of the cords stopped working, so I just got around that by getting another cord, and I just plug it in and unplug it, and it's fine. All it really is a way to get some really good light on, in this case, lettuce. And what I did there was I took old Aerogarden plastic holders that I already had saved, and I have these plugs that I bought from some online growing store. And I used my own seeds for these, so you can see the roots are starting to come out there. This is basically a hydroponic system, so very small scale thing there. There's a couple of kale growing in there because I don't know, I just threw them in there to see what would happen. Anyway, that's mainly leaf lettuce. Oh, here's an experiment that probably won't go anywhere, but you may have noticed I had some rosemary growing in that greenhouse, and that's from a sprig that it was in water so long it grew roots. And then that made me think, hey, maybe I can get other things to grow roots. So I'm just doing an experiment here. It looks like this probably won't make it. Like this is an old bottom of lettuce. But maybe the celery might make it. If any of these things grow roots, then you can stick them in the ground. This is something my mom used to do, I think. I remembered that when I realized, hey, there's roots growing from my rosemary. My mom used to root things in just water and then put them in the ground. Or just keep them alive longer in a pot. So I'm going to try that with different things I get from the grocery store and see what will grow. I noticed like up on top of this celery, there is some live green stuff growing out the top. And so I wouldn't be surprised, but what I don't get roots coming out of the bottom pretty soon. Down there is my perpetually alive chard that I don't eat. I've had that for 2 years. A friend of mine gave it to me. He grew it. I'm keeping it. It's an ornamental plant to me. It's beautiful. It's the eternal chard. And it gets light from up above here. I had this idea of, you know, putting this stuff on a glass surface so that I could slowly fill up the bottom with stuff that doesn't need a lot of light. Here's another Aerogarden. It's got lettuce in it. It's quite mature, so I'm getting a lot of salads off of that right now. Okay, and then one other thing I got going on inside the house is down here. I bought something called I think it's called a city farm or a city garden or something like that. It's just a pot, basically. It's a fancy pot that has a pipe in it so that you can water from above and it goes down into a reservoir. And on the sides, you know you've gotten it too full if water starts coming out the bottom. So I got this thing. It's really supposed to be for outside, but I put it right here by this window because this exposure is really the only exposure I've got that has much sunlight. And then I got one of these, it's an LED light system, kind of like the Aerogardens have from Root Farm. Actually, I would recommend this. This is a really simple thing. I think I might get another one. Not terribly expensive, and you know, LEDs live a long time, and they take up a lot less electricity, and they don't put out heat. So you know, one way to handle the electrical usage that these things do is to not use other lights. I mean, we use lights during the day sometimes anyway when we're in a room. So a lot of times I just leave these Aerogardens going in different parts of my house and where I'd have light anyway, and in this case then I'm also growing something. So anyway, in this pot is more kale. Do you think I like kale? Yeah, I like kale. So it got a little leggy before I got the light on because the light was a little later than the pot. But they're starting to put out little second leaves, or like their first real leaves. Let's see, you can sort of see in between. The first leaves aren't real leaves, as I've been told, but like the ones that pop out of the middle are. So, and I've seen kale, like lots of kale, even outdoors, will just start lying down, and then it'll grow lying down, and then it'll go back up. So I'm not concerned. I'm going to let it go. So that's what I'm doing inside the house to see just how far I can get. I buy fruit, and I'm going to actually start buying fruit online. I don't know if that's good or bad, but the fruit that you get in the grocery store is just horrible this time of year. It's so tasteless. So I'm going to try a company that ships oranges to you, but in the meantime I've got what I could find. I feel like I gotta have, oh, I missed this one. I gotta have fruit or I might get like some sort of nutritional deficiency if I eat nothing but greens. But is this not beautiful? So this is my kitchen light for the most part, you know, like over here on this side. This just is on a timer. And this is a variety of kale that's ready for a salad for sure. What a beautiful thing kale is. It's got different varieties. This is probably elephant kale, Russian red kale, I don't know. It's got different kinds and it's just lovely. So you can do quite a bit if you don't mind a certain amount of culinary monotony. You can grow an awful lot of what you need to at least get your green stuff in your home during the winter time using what windows you've got for light and also some supplementary light. All right, so there's my nerdy project. I promise I won't go overboard. I'll only do it if I am healthy doing it. Bye.